But let's move on into our mock draft 2.0. We're going to obviously start off 1 through 10, then go 11 through 20, and then go 21 through 30. We're going to start with Ricky, then go to Dave, and then go to me, obviously giving our top 10 picks for all of these teams. This is the draft standing, according to Tankathon.com, as of January 4th. If it's not right at the time you're watching, we are sorry. Hopefully Mock Draft 3.0 is out. Ricky, start us off.
Well, starting off at number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know we talked a bunch about them. They're going to go with Zion. They're going to just take Zion at number 1. Then number 2, the Suns. They're going to go Ja Morant, guard from Murray State. Knicks at 3 going R.J. Barrett, the second Dookie, off the board. The Bulls, they get a gift then. They get Cam Reddish, the third Dookie, to fall right to them at number 4. Number 5, the Atlanta Hawks. They're going to go with Jarrett Culver, the guard from Texas Tech. Then the Wizards at 6 go Kevin Porter Jr., guard from Southern Cal. The Pelicans will go Keldon Johnson, guard forward from the Kentucky Wildcats. T-Wolves at 8, they're going to go DeAndre Hunter. Thibodeau getting the defensive guy at the 2 or the 3 from Virginia. Then the Magic at 9 will go Rui Hachimura, the forward from the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And rounding out my top 10, Romeo Langford, the guard from the Indiana Hoosiers, to the Nets.
I'm really proud of you that you pronounced that name right.
Well, I mean, yeah, I thought about it. I had to really give the mental brain power for it.
And we're not talking about one of the difficult ones.
No,
we're talking about Jarrett Culver.
Well, because
he was saying Culver.
I got in a habit of saying Culver to where if I don't think about it, it just comes out like that.
Travels.
It just comes out like that unless I really focus. Like, no, you're saying it wrong.
Congratulations, Ricky. Dave, give us your 1 through 10.
Sure thing. With my number 1 overall pick, I've got the Cavs going Zion Williamson as a surprise to absolutely no one. With 2, I've got the Suns going Ja Morant. At 3, I've got the Knicks taking R.J. Barrett. At 4, I've got the Bulls going Cam Reddish. At 5, I've got the Hawks taking Kevin Porter Jr. At 6, I've got the Wizards going Nasir Little, as a surprise to some who listened to me rant about the boy for like way too long last week. Sorry about that. At 7, I've got the Pelicans going with DeAndre Hunter. 8, I've got the Magic. This is the rule. I've just got to stop. This is the rule of the mock drafts: is the Magic must always mock a point guard. It was the rule last year. They didn't listen.
With Trae Young?
We'll see. We'll see, though. But this year, I've got them going with Darius Garland. At number 9, I've got the Nets going Rui. And at 10, I've got the Jazz taking Keldon Johnson.
You skipped the Pelicans.
I totally did. Jarrett Culver.
Jared Culver, and then everything you said after.
You'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And
he's on the side of the screen, one or the other.
Yeah.
The one thing with the Magic, too, is we'll talk about this guy a little bit later because I feel like you talked about him a little bit in 1.0, but he's gotten really interesting.
Yeah.
KZ Okpala of Stanford used to be a guard, and like you said, he grew 10 inches.
Yep.
That's a guy for the Magic because they're like, well, he used to be a point guard, so now we'll just force him to play point guard because he's tall and long.
Because he's 6'8". And
our boy Vegberg, I don't know if he still listens or not, but if you want to follow him at Magic Vegberg on Twitter, he's I think he's Norway. I think he's how do you say Norwegian. Thank you. I think he's a Norwegian Magic fan. If I'm wrong about that, Vegberg, I apologize, but I think he's Norwegian. But he Googled campaign wingspan. It's like 6'4", 7 feet long. He's like, well, he's Magic now. We need a point guard. It made me laugh. Anyways, let's get into my top 10. Number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers taking Zion Williamson, which seems unfair. 2, the Phoenix Suns taking R.J. Barrett out of Duke. 3, the New York Knicks taking Ja Morant out of Murray State. 4, the Chicago Bulls taking Cam Reddish out of Duke. 5, the Hawks taking Nasir Little out of UNC. 6, the Wizards taking Romeo Langford out of Indiana. 7, the Pelicans taking Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. At 8, we have the T-Wolves taking the forward, DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia. Forgot how to do this for a second. 9, the Magic taking a guard, Kevin Porter out of USC. And at 10, the Nets taking Hachimura from Gonzaga. Anyways,
they get a little annoyed when we get that wrong.
I know, so let's just jump in. I said it any possible.
Yeah, I know.
The Bulldogs.
Covered it.
Let's jump into the first pick, though. The Cavs. We all have Zion Williamson going to the Cavs. I said it's unfair because, again, it's just the Cavs getting another number 1 overall pick and possibly getting another superstar. It feels like if this happens, like the Colts getting Andrew Luck right after Peyton Manning left.
Mm-hmm. No, it kind of is. And like I was thinking about this pick coming in, and it's like it's not fair to Zion because of like obviously being what he's doing. He deserves some sort of praise, even if you think he might be overhyped. But like coming into this mock draft, I was like, really, if you want to hear what we thought about this and the Cavs, We talked about it like what, last week, 2 weeks ago,
Gave
and
you a
like
half
this
hour
is
on
like
it.
this is like the only pick where it's like, yep, it's Zion. If you want to know anything else, we already
There's
talked about it.
no one in the world has anyone other than Zion as their number one pick right now.
And well, that's not true. I saw a couple that have RJ still.
Well, they're wrong.
And also the thing too is like everyone has a take on Zion, and you've heard everything about it. Like, yes, he cannot shoot. Yes, he's the most athletic player we've probably seen in college in a very long time, if not ever. He's a freak athlete, can play defense as a human highlight reel. Like, there's not much else. We will not know more about Zion until we see him play an NBA game.
I want to ask you what
Unless he starts magically going like 7 of 14 from 3.
I hope he shoots.
I want to ask you what I asked Dave on the billboard because we talked about
billboard?
the big board.
The Billboard Top 40.
The big board for the NBA draft was, is Zion overhyped? Like, are we overhyping Zion at this
I
point?
think in ways, yes, because he's like extremely fun, and then you get media saturation where people get sick of him. I think that is definitely, that happens with most superstars, and I think already he is a superstar, at least in the college basketball world.
Yeah.
So I think he's maybe not over. I feel like when I say overhyped, people might think he's overrated. I don't think we're overrating his athletic ability. I don't think we're overrating him as a basketball prospect. But I think some people might say, oh, he's the next LeBron James, and them take it in, he has as much basketball skill as LeBron James, which is nowhere near true. Even as comparing them as coming into the NBA. LeBron James was a much more skilled basketball player than Zion Williamson might ever be. Like, LeBron was a next level gifted athlete and basketball player. That's the reason why he is, in arguments for the greatest player of all time. I do not think Zion's ever going to get to that level. However, he does have as much athleticism, most likely, as young LeBron did. So that comparison is fair. Now he's got to be able to take that and turn it into basketball skills. And there are the frameworks of that, and that's why he's going number one. It's not just because of that athleticism. We talked a little bit before that he's very similar to Hamidou Diallo, but if he was just a bowling ball, and 6'7" on steroids. But he has more basketball prowess and basketball skills than Hamidou Diallo did. I mean, he has the ability to dribble. He has the ability to pass the ball. He has the ability to drive. He obviously has a ton of strength and draw contact. He's not the worst free throw shooter in the world. He doesn't have a shot from the outside, but I don't think that's too damaging. And also, he's a pretty good defender. Like, he has good positioning down low. He has good positioning in the perimeter. Obviously, he can time blocks very well. He can steal the ball. He can lead the fast break. He's got much more basketball sense than a Hamidou Diallo ever has. Yep. So I think everyone's going to get annoyed with him. I think people are going to be oversaturated by him. Obviously, people have seen, like, it's North Carolina versus Harvard, but let's pull in the sidebar of the top 3 Duke freshmen. Like, people are going to get annoyed with Zion, but I don't think that means we're overselling him. He's going to be a project. He's going to be someone who doesn't step in right away, but
That's
he
exactly
does
what I
have
was going to ask you.
He does have the ability to be a freak.
Do you think that his rookie year, and I know we're going a little off, but like, do you think his rookie year when he comes in, that the expectation for him to put up like 15, 7, and
I think it's
2.
more than that.
You think it's higher than that?
Yeah, definitely more than 2 assists.
Okay.
And definitely more than 7 rebounds.
Okay.
I think immediately people are going to expect him to be a double-double machine, which I think is honestly possible. I think him getting 10 and like 5 a game is definitely possible.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think he's going to score.
Do you see
over
the stat
15
line
points a game.
closer to like what Draymond had done in previous years? Like when he had more usage?
Maybe. Like, I just don't know if he goes to Cleveland especially.
Yeah, that's why I'm
how he'll
mocking,
be
because you
able
have
to
Kevin Love out
score.
there potentially still, and he's a very good rebounder.
Yeah, but now there's talks that he might leave. Like, he might get traded.
True.
Because his trade exception or whatever, his trade deadline since he signed that extension is coming up January 15th. And teams are curious about if he's available, do they trade him? I think the Jazz are a team that could be interesting, especially with Favors' contract. They can possibly make money work, and then bring in K-Love to stretch out that floor, give more space to
disgusting.
Don Mitch. Yeah, I think that's a team that people are thinking, possibly the Cavs unloading that. If they don't have a Kevin Love, I just don't understand how he scores, because then you have a guard, Colin Sexton, who's not a facilitator.
Yep.
And offensively, outside of that, Zion's most likely going to need to be the facilitator. So then maybe we see more spikes in his assists, but I don't understand outside of him taking the ball off the bounce and dribbling in and attacking the basket how he's going to score. But then again, is his body going to be able to hold up doing that 82 games in a rookie season? And obviously he's got the strength, but one bad landing could just totally ruin that. So I don't know what he's going to be like as a scorer coming into the NBA, and he might have games where he puts up like 30 points a game because he's just.
Do you think that is realistic? Like he can have 30-point games his first year? Because I don't know that his scoring cap is that high. Or is it, like, I don't want to put a cap on anybody, but like
that's the thing is I don't want to put a cap on him especially because people doubted him from high school to college, and obviously he's proving everyone wrong. So he can make that jump to the NBA. I just worry about like what he's going to be like his rookie year. Yep. Because at his top, I think he can be a 20-point game scorer, and I think he can be a 12 rebound guy a night, and a 5 assist guy a night. I think he can be that at his top. But what is his top? How soon will he reach his top? And can he step in right away and do that? I don't think he's going to have a Luka type rookie season. But I think he's going to have a pretty decent rookie season just because of his athleticism alone.
Nice.
I think that's going to make his transition to the NBA easier because he does have basketball skills.
Well, and I know this gets a little bit away from it, but like you mentioned the Jazz, the other interesting thing is, let's say the Cavs do move Love to the Jazz, would this year's first rounder be in that? And if, let's say it is, K-Love helps them win a couple games, they could even be in it, them being the Cavs, could be in the territory of Zion number 1, take a point guard later on because like they are at 11 now. If they go into the mid-teens, that could be Darius Garland area to where, I mean, they could take him. They could take a Trey Jones.
But you just took a point guard in Colin Sexton.
No, I'm just
so
saying,
I don't know how
I'm
that
saying
would work.
if the people are like, because if you're sold on Sexton, if you're not, even with Sexton there, he could totally put 30 points up because, I mean, DeAndre Ayton did it, and he's got Devin Booker on his team. So, I mean, there's...
Yeah, but Booker averages 7 a game.
Yeah,
like, I'm not saying he's a number 1.
For sure, like, average 30 a game, but he could get a 30-point game in the NBA at some point.
That's what I'm thinking. It's just like his athleticism. If he's playing like a slow like Grizzlies team, he can attack the bucket and like attack. I think he has.
Put him in
ability.
that whole. Basically, you need to just take the playbook from the Lakers and move it to the Cavs. That's what they want to do anyway. They just reminisce of the LeBron days. And there's like, we'll just fast break. Don't care. We'll get the ball, and he's just going to run up the court, and no one's going to get in front of him.
And the other thing, too, just quickly on that Ayton thing about getting 30 points, he also has Igor as a coach who's an offensive-minded coach. And when I said Devin Booker's a 1, I meant as in, like, Devin Booker's not a 1. As in the position spot.
And I mean,
he's not a traditional point guard. I'm not really sold on his facilitating as a point guard role. I think he's a good passer. I think he can run an offense at times, but I don't think he's a true point guard. That's what I meant is that I think he could be a number 1 option on a team, though. I don't want people to mess that up.
Ayton is so much more gifted offensively than he is. He's
also got, 5 inches on him?
Yeah.
6 inches on him?
6 inches at least.
And also, I mean, he's got way better post moves. He's got
and he's got a better outside shot.
Yeah, he's got a better outside shot.
He's literally just a better shooter all around.
So yeah, I mean, and also one thing too is when you're using him in a pick and roll, it's different because then you have a 5 on him and not a 3 or a 4 because they're not going to be putting guys like DeAndre Ayton size on Zion Williamson. They're going to be putting guys wing players who match up with him speed wise, and then maybe he can bully weaker 3s, but. Again, we'll have to wait and see. That's what I said. We don't have much to talk about Zion Williamson. Here we go, talking about. We're at 15.
Jesus.
So at this point, like we just need to see what he's able to do.
Yeah.
We have to see what he's able to do. We have to wait and see what he's able to do in the NBA. And again, unless something drastically changes, like he's able to hit multiple 3-point shots and it looks decent, then we won't really have much to talk about. Or maybe I'll be wrong. But let's move into the Suns. Obviously, we just talked about Booker and Ayton. I have them going R.J. Barrett. Ricky and Dave have them going John Morant. I think I understand your guys' ideas because they need a point guard. Am I anything outside of that, or do you guys actually believe he's the second best player?
No, I don't believe he's the second best, and this is contradicting my big board a little bit because I still had the 3 Dukies at the top. But the one thing that I will say is there are only, in my mind, 2 teams that if they get the second pick would definitely take John Morant over either RJ and Cam, and that is Phoenix and New York, because they, to me, I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, Ricky, it's top 5, take the BPA player. No, they need a point guard. Those 2 teams need a point guard. And like the Suns, I look at them and to where it's like, I think about the Celtics where it's like, hey, they got Jaylen Brown. They get Jason Tatum. It's just wing players on top of wing players. I don't think that's going to work for the Suns. Yeah, you have Devin Booker. Adding another wing player like an R.J. Barrett, who's an athletic, ball-dominant guy, I don't think that would be the best move. Go and get your point guard that you can put next to Devin Booker. And if you're worried about Ja Morant not being an assist guy, doesn't matter. You just mentioned it. Devin Booker does get assists, so that could work with the Ja Morant.
Also, he's getting assists because he doesn't have a traditional point guard.
Yeah, and
so
I mean,
he's forced into it.
So, I mean, but he has the skill to where I feel like for the Suns especially, need here at number 2 fits a little bit better because Ja Morant, would it be bad if he did go number 2? No, but I don't think he's the second best player in the league or in the draft class.
Real quick, I don't know if this is picking up on
for the audio listeners.
Is it? Do you guys hear
I
your
don't
headphones?
know.
Okay. I heard it a little bit when you moved the receipts out.
If you're on YouTube, you could see I'm messing with my wallet because all my dollar bills were sticking out, and I have OCD, and it was really bugging the shit out of me. So I needed to fix it.
I thought you were getting to place a bet.
I'm very sorry.
Throwing the money on the table that Ja Morant's not going to be number 2.
I'm just a weirdo. I don't care if he goes number 2 because, again, like Dave said, like he does think he's the second best player.
I do, yeah. 100%.
I mean, so far, he's been performing well. And some people say, oh, Murray State. Yes, but also, like, where did Jerry Rice go to college? Where did Randy Moss go to college? Where did Walter Payton go to college?
But guys, like, the last Murray State point guard that was really...
If you comment that again, I will ban you from our comment section. I don't even have our login account.
He doesn't have that power.
I don't have the login password. They don't trust me. But I will ban you from our comment section.
The thing with that is like Campaign and Ja are different players, and Dave, why don't you at least explain your side of why they are different players, and why you do believe
I will attack people all I want. Rick.
And why
that is why I'm here.
And why you do believe Ja Morant is the second best player in the draft right now.
Ja Morant is easily one of the most talented people we've seen in college basketball. The big knock on him is obviously early in the season it was his turnovers and his strength of schedule. He can't change his strength of schedule. There's nothing he can do about that. But what he can do is improve his style of play and be more conscious of his ball control, because part of the problem with Ja is he was forcing a lot of plays early in the season because I think he bought into his own hype a little bit. He popped off really hard, really early, and it was just like, okay, I'm feeling myself. You watch him play, he has a ton of confidence when he plays, and honestly, none of it looks really bad on film. When you're watching on film, it's all within the flow of the game. He's not making the wrong decision too often. But when you look at the stat sheet, you see 7 turnovers, 8 turnovers, 9,
10 turnovers against Alabama.
It was actually a 10 and a 7.
Yeah.
Outside of those two, if you take those two out, he's putting up, 2, 4, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4. Like, those are fine. Because guess what? His assist numbers, 13, 13, 7, 10, 14, 13. Like, can we just... The man has great passing ability. Like, he's a great facilitator. He is a dominant scorer. He can get into the paint easily, and he knows how to distribute from those drives. He can drive and kick with the best of them. He can go off the pick and roll. Like, his offensive game looks clean. The biggest problem people see now is his three-point shooting's inconsistent, and I would say to that, his free throw shooting, his shot positioning looks solid, motion-wise.
Real quick, too, I just want to jump in. Like, you're talking about what he's doing as a player, right? And you're talking about the turnovers, and the turnovers are a little bit worrisome. But also one thing that you have to throw out there is like, all right, who else has done something like this? Who else has gone out and done something to the level of Ja Morant and what he's doing? The turnovers are worrisome, but he also has 9.9 assists to 4.8 turnovers a game. That's a very good assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah.
That is almost 2, which is a good assist to turnover ratio.
Especially that volume.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Since 1992 to 1993, that's as far as Sports Reference college basketball goes, to now, 2018, 2019, there is one player that has ever averaged 20 points a game, 8 assists a game, and 5 rebounds per game.
Who that guy?
That's Ja Morant. And he's averaging 22 a game. He's averaging 9 a game. And he's averaging 6 a game. So I even lowered the bar to help this kid out to see if anyone else has done that, and no one has. Not in the Power 5 conference, not in a Murray State, not even, no D1 player has ever done this.
Right.
So that's the point. It's like, he is doing something spectacular. And he's not just doing it because he's going up against shit conference. He's doing it against Auburn. He's doing it against Alabama. Like, he's doing this against SEC teams as well.
And I also feel like, look at who the Suns have as their coach and Coach Igor. I know that Devin Booker and Ja are not the exact positions as Ricky Rubio and Don Mitch, but it could be almost a similar thing as like the Don Mitch who came out, he shot a little bit better from 3 than Ja is, about 35 to 31. But ballpark, they're the same. They're not strong three-point shooters. And actually, you look at Ja, his assist numbers are way higher than Donovan Mitchell's was, but they could both get to the basket and score points. And then you can look on the other side. Of course, Devin Booker puts up more points than Ricky Rubio, but those two can work the same as Igor had in Rubio and Don Mitch, to where it could work out. And then on top of it, Mikal Bridges, if he develops, becomes that 3-and-D player you want. You have DeAndre Ayton down low. I feel like it's just the point guard. That's the missing piece. Go and take it at number 2 if it's there.
You absolutely have to pull the trigger. And I would agree with you, Ricky. I think that what the Suns can do with their potential lineup, if they end up with Ja Morant and that young wing depth, and obviously DeAndre Ayton at the 5, like, they're a dangerous team at that point, because what we've seen so far is, like, Devin Booker is just absolutely fucking stellar. Ayton has great games. His defensive lapses have gotten less and less as the season goes on, which is a great sign for everybody who, was concerned about that going into this year.
Don't write that off.
It's not done.
Yeah, I mean, like...
He was horrible. Now he's less horrible.
But he can also go back to horrible. He can continue to improve. He can continue to get back.
We'll
have to watch that.
Fair. I don't want to get people too overhyped on him. Because I'm still concerned.
Like, we can't see James Harden, what he's doing right now, being like, oh, he's going to average 40 for the rest of the season.
He's the MVP.
Like, we don't know.
I'm going to say that.
Right now, but it's also January.
Yep. So, point being, their team loaded with potential. I think Igor has a whole lot more to work with on this upcoming team than he did previously in Utah.
Yeah.
I think the skill sets and the young talent here, super easy, super moldable. Like, he can build whatever he wants with this group because they are the modern NBA.
And a thing, too, with, that comparison of the skill set and players he had with Utah, like, there's a reason why Quinn Snyder was so high in the past rankings of our coach. I think he was top 5.
Yeah.
Is because we look at that team, and, Gobert is a phenomenally talented defensive player.
Absolutely.
Donovan Mitchell was extremely impressive as a rookie. Ricky Rubio is a solid veteran point guard.
Better.
He got better under the coaching. Like, we have seen what those players were able to do. They took rises up. We didn't expect Donovan Mitchell to be this good. We didn't expect Rudy Gobert to be this consistent. Like, what he's done with his
defensive game was
impressive.
great, and then offensively he's gotten better. And it's just, you're right, Quinn Snyder, credit to him. But like, at this point, you gotta be like, so about that other guy who we just stole out.
And now he's got like legit talent. So that's the thing with the point you're making, and I 100% agree.
Yeah.
So Ja, I think, is a questionable thing. The thing that I would say with RJ,
I was just going to say the last thing I'm going to throw out about the Suns is the probably worst thing, and I know this is going to sound like, wait, did he just say what I think he said? The worst thing that could happen to the Suns is getting the number 1 pick.
Because they're forced into
They
Zion.
would have to take Zion.
I disagree with that.
They would have to take, like, Zion's going to be a great player, going to be, I think, a great player.
Do you think Fit could ruin his potential?
Maybe. I don't know how
he
he'd
could
sit behind Ayton. Being number 2 would be the best for the Suns, because then they could just, we'll take Ja Morant, and they're not forced into a pick like they'd be at number 1.
Disagree. Just give me the best player, and that's Zion. Like, and he's not sitting behind Ayton. Like, he's still.
How are they going to play together? I'm not completely sure how they're going to play.
Well,
then you turn him into the the big man who can pass, and that just helps that offense flow even more.
I just want to be Draymond Green on steroids. Is that too much to ask for?
And that's something that too. Like, Igor's offense is huge on passing. Zion is a good passer.
Exactly.
That's going to lead to open lanes. Like, Ayton's a decent passer as well. Like, that's just going to help the offensive flow. Yes, he's not going to be able to take outside shots, but you also have one of the best 3-point shooters, or at least best shooters, in Devin Booker, and you can always surround them with shooting. TJ Warren's becoming a better shooter. Josh Jackson obviously hasn't, but even Okubo has shown a stroke before, and maybe he'll be able to mold that even more. And you can also just go out and get shooting. Like, there's the ability to add talent, because Phoenix doesn't have a massive cap. Obviously Ryan Anderson's eating up a little bit right now, but you can always find ways to add talent around there. You can never find a generational player. And if we're thinking Zion is that player, you do not pass that up.
I think the worst case scenario is the Suns get sunsed and they get dropped down to like 4, 5, and 6 range, and they miss out because we talk about how top heavy this talent is in this draft. And it's not to say that the guys below them aren't that good. It's just we don't see the same level of upper end potential, the upper echelon of like, this has potential to be a breakout star in the league.
Well, and I think something too is that I think there's one or two players that people are for sure like, these guys are not going to bust or have like very low levels of bust, and that would be Zion and RJ. And even then, like, you look at DeAndre Hunter, he has a low floor, but how high is his ceiling? Truly, and that's kind of going back. What did I say?
You said low floor.
Yeah, high floor. I'm sorry. There's guys that most likely with perceived high floors.
Yeah, when you're mocking top 10
Zion,
picks to be,
DeAndre
players on a team, you're a quality starter, but you're in that like Bojan, Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles is a top 10 player this year. I can't say that anymore. But that's exactly what I'm concerned with in this draft. So I'm like, if they got sunsed and they got knocked down to 5-6, that would suck. Yeah. I would go for pick me the freaking moon at that point. Go potential.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like then you get into the Jarrett Culver region, you get in the Kevin Porter region, you get into the Romeo Langford. Then you start thinking about Nasir Little or Bol. Like there's a lot of
there's a lot of twos.
Things that can question. Yeah.
There's a lot of twos this year.
Well, then Darius Garland, how much do you
how
think
good
he'll
is
fit?
he gonna look? Yeah.
So. I think it would be worse if they fell back than fall forward, because then you have a shot at generational talent.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to the Portland Trailblazers and be like, hey, this Michael Jordan kid might not fix with Clyde Drexler, but Sam Bowie will. You're going Michael Jordan.
True.
So,
good point.
And I'm not saying that Zion's going to be Michael Jordan, but that's the idea of, like, same with the Cavs. Like, oh, hey, there's LeBron James. You could take a shot at Darko, though. Darko's a better fit. Come on, you're going with LeBron James.
I think Darko got a ring before LeBron.
I think we're getting to that level of the fit does not matter. Zion is the pick.
Yep.
I'm just going RJ, though, for the Suns, because I think that he might kill ball handling at some point. He might not look for the pass to his teammates, and I think that's something that isn't extremely, positive for him. But I think one thing with him, and maybe I don't fully know this, this is me fully speculating, I think there is something to him that he does want to prove that he is the best. And when you are on possibly the best freshman class ever in college basketball history, you want to prove that you are the best. So why would I want to pass it to Zion if that's going to be more time for Zion on SportsCenter? Why would I pass it to Cam if that's going to mean more time on Cam and Zion and less time on me? I think a big thing about him is being the alpha, and that might not mesh well with DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. But I think at least talent-wise, I think he's trying to prove something right now. And I think that that could possibly be cleaned up. And talent-wise, I think he is the second most talented player in this draft. And I don't think you pass that up, because Ja has been spectacular. And I'm not writing off Ja being the second pick at all, but also you look at that team and they can use a 3. Like TJ Warren's already locked up, extended. You can keep him as your 6th man. You look at their wings as well. Josh Jackson hasn't panned out extremely well. And RJ Barrett looks like the next great to good wing in the NBA, and those are so valuable, where you could see teams, and if Devin Booker continues this growth, maybe Igor does see him moving to a typical number one spot. I could see that happening. And also RJ is a good passer.
So you're thinking
when he shows his ability to pass, he can pass extremely well.
So their starting lineup would be, just to clarify for everybody, their starting lineup, if they go RJ, would be,
I think
go wing
at
heaven.
The top,
go wing heaven.
I would say Devin Booker.
Yep.
McHale. Once they all pan out. I'm not saying McHale yet. Devin Booker, McHale, RJ.
I mean, it's either Warren, Jackson, or TBD.
Yeah.
They might not have that guy on the roster yet.
Yeah, so then I'd probably
Oubre, if depending on his contract.
Yeah, they have to re-sign him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you just leave power forward open right now, and then because I don't think you put Josh Jackson there. So then just Ayton at the 5. I mean, right now this team's a whole.
Lineup. It's an intriguing lineup, but yeah, it kind of falls on to the how well can Devin Booker lead the team as a 1 guard in Igor's system, and we'll see. But I agree though, RJ has incredible talent, and he does seem to give off that alpha vibe. I know all 3 of these guys are really close and really friendly with each other, and that's how it's an awesome story to get the behind the scenes from them at Duke. But at the same time, I do get that definite vibe from him.
And you could be competitive and also be buddies.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, that doesn't mean automatically if you're out looking for yourself, you can't be friends with anybody.
Right.
And you can't be.
You don't have to hate your teammates like Kobe did and like Jordan did.
Yeah.
That's the old school NBA vibe. That's no longer a thing.
Well, I mean, look at us. We all want to be right, but we're still all friends, right?
I mean, but we all know that we're right.
But I mean, I like what you said though about the whole thing with RJ, and that's why for me, the best fit for him is New York, not Phoenix, and it's because you want to be the guy. You're going to go to a team you're going to get the spotlight in New York. It is the Mecca. They don't call it the Mecca for no reason. And being the guy in New York, being the guy to bring them back, like Zion will have to fight for, like, he's not going to have to fight for the spotlight because he's Zion, but he's going to be in Cleveland, where Cleveland is Cleveland, and it's not the same as New York, where it's like New York, when they're good, the number one on that team is like almost like a god when it comes to like
they weren't even that
popularity and
good
stuff.
when Jeremy Lin was like worldwide famous for 2
I'm
weeks.
talking about like even like not just Jeremy Lin. I'm
when
talking
were they
about
good
like
last?
the
Like
90s.
1980?
I'm talking about like when the 90s,
they
when
had
New York
a
was
couple
bad.
playoff runs with Melo. So
They did. They
I mean,
playoffs.
they had
Did
him
anyone
and
think
Amari.
Melo was the king of New York, though? Really?
No,
Yeah,
they
it
always
was.
question that.
But I mean,
think
like-
they even question, like, they probably even questioned Ewing. I wasn't around then, but they probably fucking questioned him.
But like for me, that's the best fit because like even with the lineup, like point guard, do whatever you want. If you want a Moutier there, if you want Frank develop, like probably Moutier at the 1. Hardaway's got the contract; he'll be at the 2. I put RJ at the 3, move Kevin Knox to the 4, and then put KP at the 5.
Well, he's been playing mostly the 4.
and that's my starting lineup. And
But
because
can you really roll KP at the 5 all the time?
it wouldn't be all the time, but I could start him at the 5.
Well,
you can
he's-
re-sign Cantor on maybe
No one's going to
a.
resign
No,
Cantor.
you
I
wouldn't.
mean, if you can get him for less money, you can bring Cantor back. If
Doesn't play
not, you've
defense.
got Mitch Rob that you
Mitch Rob
developed
was-
or that you drafted last year.
Yeah, well, Mitchell Robinson will need more time before
Yeah.
he's playing, 30 minutes a night. Like, that's my concern.
Well, and I'm not saying play him 30 a night, but like KP, I'll start him at the 5, and then we can move his minutes to the
And
4
I
to
just
the 5.
don't
and he
like
switches
having
back
him
and
bang
forth.
down low at 7-3.
Well, if he's ideally healthy, too. Like, if he's ideally healthy,
Yeah.
he's most likely going to get more minutes than Kevin Knox.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to most likely play, like, 30 minutes to 33 minutes a game.
Right.
And then you could just, when Knox isn't on the floor, slide him over. This is always just a start.
Right.
And this is always just, when we do starting lineups, is what is your best lineup? What's the lineup you could put the most talent without giving up too much positional integrity?
Fair enough.
So, and also going back to the Suns thing, maybe you move Ayton back to the 4 and put Holmes at the 5. Or, I mean, they have been putting Warren out there with Bridges.
Yeah.
So, I think the one thing, though, is just maybe then you just go D'Anthony Melton, Devin Booker, RJ Barrett, and then Warren or Bridges, and then Ayton.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but that's one thing that I do like about the Suns is the depth of that team.
Yeah, they've
At
got a
least
lot of
next
young
year.
options that they're going to figure out in the next couple of years.
And they got Melton, they got Okubo too. So
Yeah.
like I mean, there's some options that they have
Well,
that might not be
You gotta
the
love
greatest.
the fact that
but
like D'Anthony Melton, the second rounder, is like we're all incredibly high on him. God, we were spoiled last year.
yeah,
Like, God.
but I mean, we might end up developing guys like that. I mean, there was guys that I was putting like in 21 through 30 that I was more in love with than guys that I put like 11. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys like KZ. I'm falling in love with KZ. I want to put that motherfucker in my top 10. But we'll talk about him. Let's just go on now into the third pick. We'll go to the Knicks. I have John Morant. Ricky, you have RJ Barrett. Dave, you have RJ Barrett. You already talked about RJ and how he fits. My idea is just, again, you're not sure about the point guard position, right? We're not
Well,
sure if
and
it's going
it's
to be
like-
Moutier. You're not going to be sure if it's going to be Frank.
Well, and RJ can be that ball handler at the 3. Like you don't need that. Like yeah, you can have Moody out there, but
He can be a point forward.
RJ's the one that runs the offense from the 3 and just move KP and Kevin Knox over from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5.
My idea, too, is if you're going to go for big moves in free agency, the Knicks, John Morant could be your point guard. Most likely the big names in free agency are wings. They're Kevin Durant. They're Jimmy Butler if he opts out. Kawhi Leonard. So you're just trying to find spaces to fill. Tim Hardaway could always move over, like you said. Knox at the 4. At the 5, you could put KP or obviously KP at the 4, whatever you want to do, and always sign a free agent. 5 because they do have a lot of movement. I just do think John Morant is very takeable at 3. I mean, he has shown so many different levels to his skill. He has
Yeah.
that outside shot. He has the ability to drive. I don't love his ability to fight off contact entirely yet, but I think with NBA training he can bulk up a little bit and he can get stronger when driving to the rim. And again, I think the assist numbers when you're passing to NBA level talent, hopefully, we don't know if Frank is NBA talent level yet, or some of the guys on this roster, but when you're passing out to guys like KP, it's going to be easier to trust those guys. It's going to be easier, to hit them when they're open. And maybe if you're passing to a guy who's a former All-Star, it's going to be easier to put your trust into tight windows, and maybe you don't have to trust tight windows a little bit more because your best player, you have him covered. You could always just dish it out to Knox or something like that if he's a little bit more wide open. So I think the talent level also determines a little bit of the decision making that you're going through. So I do trust John Morant when it comes to the next level. And again, I think he has proven that he can do this consistently. And I think one thing that the Knicks do need is some consistency, because you took Kevin Knox, and Kevin Knox, while he has had some phenomenal games, has not been super consistent. Neither have his minutes, so I won't be too bashing of Kevin Knox here. But same with Frank. Like, Frank hasn't been consistent. He'll have games where he scores 20 points and then he'll be quiet for the next 7. And KP hasn't been consistently healthy. I think one thing that Ja has shown is that he can be consistently out there and consistently producing. So I think that Ja would be a really nice fit for the Knicks. But you did go RJ. That's mostly likely because your guy
Ja's already gone.
Ja's gone.
I agree. Like, if given the opportunity, like, absolutely the Knicks should take a point guard. Like, I think Moutier is doing a great job growing this year, but I don't think he's going to be a starting point guard in the NBA, like, long term for any team. So I look to move him back up, and then Ja would have a field day with that team. Like, that'd be ridiculous.
It'd be fun to watch him too.
But I think RJ, because he's best player available after that, I easily see him fitting in there. He's the heir to the throne. Kicked Tim Hardaway Jr. out of town at some point. I mean, it's just I've got feelings on him.
Well, and I want to pose this question just for the Knicks really quick. Let's say they do get like a big free agent. Let's say Kevin Durant's like, I want to come and play for New York.
Wow.
What are the odds the Knicks then, because the draft happens before they'd be able to make any type of trade in the new league year, they go ahead and say, we're going to draft a guy like RJ Barrett because we're planning on, like, odds are high that Durant could come. No, I'm not saying trade RJ.
I don't know if it was going
I'm saying make a draft or a trade after the league year involving Tim Hardaway Jr. that would send him and future picks to the Wizards to bring John Wall in.
Well,
and then there's your point. And then there could be your point guard.
Cap becomes an issue just because, I mean, John Wall's going to be making upwards of $40 million when he hits that next contract. So you're going to be paying most likely a max to the free agent that you sign if it is Kevin Durant. Then you're going to have to be paying a ton to John Wall.
It's a John Wall max contract.
Yeah. So then you're going to have to be looking at KP as well, and he's a restricted free agent this year. It's difficult. So I
can't see them.
I don't see that happening either. I think if you sign a big free agent, then you also have to worry about Kevin Knox. Then you might not have enough money for Kevin Knox. And then you do have the bird rights on it, but then you have to go way over the electric tax. And then there's the hard cap.
Do you see Dolan?
Yeah, I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think there's a reason to go out and you can sign somebody else for less money. And again, like yes, you might not get
if a Rubio hits free agency,
you might not get the talent level of a John Wall, but you're definitely not going to be paying someone $47 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
But here I think is where most people would say the talent drops, and some people wouldn't. But the Bulls, we all have them going Cam Reddish. Do you think this is where the talent drops, or do you think it's the next pick?
It's after this. Like I don't think Cam Reddish is like saying that the talent drops here is saying that Cam Reddish isn't good or is bad. That's how I see it in my mind. And as a Bulls fan, I would actually like having Cam Reddish on my team. I like what he's doing at Duke. I feel like people overlook him because of RJ, because of Zion. Like if he was a one on a different team, we wouldn't be overlooking Cam Reddish. Kind of like we are now, because he's the third player on a Duke team.
How are you saying that? Because yes, he's the third player on the team, but that's all we've seen is him being the third player. So how do you know? Like, what have you seen from his game that you can be taking Cam Reddish off him, put him on like let's say a Texas Tech, and he would thrive? Like, what are you seeing in his game that makes him thrive outside of Duke?
With me, when I watched, of course, for the ball handling, a lot of it you got to go to the high school tape. He can handle the ball. He can be a guy that could be like the number one ball handler, but he doesn't have to be. And that's why for the Bulls, I'm actually kind of sitting back and thinking, out of the Dukies, the two that I either want Zion or I either want Cam Reddish. I want like RJ is my third because we've got Zach who's ball dominant. We've got KD at the 1. We already have like Markkanen who's our 4, Wendell who's our 5. We really need to lock down that 3 for me. And Cam Reddish could be a guy that plays off the ball next to Zach LaVine and doesn't have to have the ball, can shoot from the outside, can get passes from Zach or from KD, and fit nicely with what the Bulls are trying to do offensively.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants a 3-and-D wing, right? Like, he's got the body of an NBA player right now. All he needs to do is continue conditioning. His shot stroke is nice. The fact that the numbers aren't overly impressive is a little concerning to some people, and that's fair because I think we all expect him to shoot over 40% with what he had done in high school to kind of lead into it. But I'm honestly just thinking that at the end of the day, due to his body, due to his wingspan and makeup, like everything physically tells me he's got potential. He's got so much more potential than we're seeing out of him right now at Duke. So I think that he is deservedly in the top 4 for talent, and that is where the drop-off happens. Like, kind of like, you know how we basically had a segment about Nasir Little on
the Primetime
podcast, talking about how, like, look, he doesn't get a chance to shine because he's getting limited minutes because the guy in front of him, Cam Johnson's shooting lights out. Like, he doesn't get his opportunity to shine. I feel like Cam Reddish is a similar situation where he's a third option on a team. He's not getting a chance to shine. He's on the floor a lot. He's shooting volume amounts out there. He's shooting 7+ threes a game, which is insane to me, but he's just a solid player top to bottom. And I think that anyone expecting him to be a superstar as the third man on a team, you're just wrong. Like, that's not...
But do you think he can be a superstar in the NBA?
I do. I agree. I think he's the same boat as Nasir. He's a better player than he is better NBA prospect than he is in college player. And I hope that the Bulls could take that because that's ideal for us. Like, let's go ahead and take a guy who couldn't shine in college, who has 3-and-D wing potential, but then also can grow into a ball-handling wing who's dominant defensively as well. Like, that's everybody's dream.
Here's the thing that I will say, like, if you want us to talk more about the Bulls, we will in a future mock. But I do want to hit right now where this talent drops off. And you brought up Nasir Little.
Yep.
And his ability to grow, and that in the next level at the NBA, he will be, good. And
we all assume he'll be a better player in the NBA. Yes.
I have him the highest going next to the Hawks. So I think we'll just jump over the Bulls. We talk about them a lot. Yep. Cam Reddish is a very good 3-and-D player. He's going to fit in with at least the players that they have right now. Chris Dunn,
he's a perfect
Zach LaVine, right Cam Reddish, Lauri Markkanen, and then Wendell Carter Jr. It's a very good starting lineup. Yep. You just got to get rid of the head coach. But now with the Hawks, Nasir Little, I have him the highest at 5th. You have him going to the Wizards at 6. Ricky, you have him at 11.
Yep.
You're saying that the talent drops off after him?
I'm saying the talent might drop off before him.
Okay, so he is that cutoff.
I think
so there's
the top 4, and then there's everybody else.
Okay, and Ricky, do you agree with that?
I would say for sure top 4, Culver to me. By the time we get to draft, Culver might play himself into where we're saying after the top 5.
Right now.
Right now it's top 4, maybe top 5. From 5 to 10 for me is all... I would feel confident taking these guys.
I'm not asking that,
but I'm not like for sure they're for sure.
I'm asking like
where's the talent
where would you be bummed picking? Like, would you be bummed picking at 5 because you didn't get a shot at the 4?
No, if that's a question, 10 or below.
5 to 15 for me. You could put them in a bucket, shake them up, and just pull out names. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I feel
right
that
now they haven't distinguished themselves enough.
I feel that way 6 to 15.
So you want to put Nasir in that group?
I do want to put Nasir into that group. And I know that then some people are worried about the playing time. I am too, and I've brought this up multiple times. Roy Williams was a national champion coach. Yeah. He's a legend, like you said. He is obviously knows basketball talent when he sees it. And Nasir only getting 20 minutes a game is worrying. But when you do see him out there is the growings of I think an NBA starter at least, and possibly an NBA star. He has the ability to score. He has the ability to shoot from the outside, and maybe it's not super consistent because he's not getting the minutes. And you see him go 1 for 5, and that's the most he's ever taken in a game. But also, when you're getting limited minutes, you do not want to make bad mistakes, so those minutes go down.
And we've watched him get pulled off the court for poor decisions already.
And I think that's one thing that he is kind of walking on thin ice. And
that's fair.
And I think something with him. You don't want to push the envelope because you do not want to totally tank your draft stock, but you also want to be a good teammate. You want to be able to help your team win games. Right. And I think that might change once you go into the NBA. There's not a lot of forwards and 3-and-D players who are 6'6" with an over 7-foot wingspan, who have this much athleticism, can play this amount of defense, has the ability to attack the basket like he has. And he's even a really good free throw shooter when he's had the opportunity to. And again, looking at what he's done from 3, like it's 24%, but it's going 1 of 2, 0 of 1, 0 of 2, 0 of 1, 0 of 1, 0 of 1, 0 of 1, 1 for 1, 2 for 3, 1 for 2. I haven't seen enough out of him from 3.
Yeah.
But again, I think that goes back to the opportunities and not wanting to piss away your opportunity. But when you go to the line, you're hitting those shots. And we usually take free throw shooting as a barometer of how good of a shooter you can be. And I think that there's enough there that doesn't make me worry too much about his three-point shooting. And I think we even look back at Luka. Like, people were like, oh, he's shooting 31% from 3. He's going to be garbage. Well, you look at the free throws, and you also look at he played 91 consecutive games. Not everything is just numbers. You have to take it into context. And I think with Nasir Little, the volume of 3 is not there. But then you look inside the arc, and what he's doing from two-point range. 49 and 81, over 60% from the field there. Yeah. And, that's mostly...
He's a great slasher.
Driving, yeah.
Yep.
But also, there is the ability to shoot from inside the arc. And there's that ability where it gets closer to the bucket, he's going to be able to get it to fall. And I think, you keep stepping out. You keep practicing. And I think if he works on that, you can build up the ability to hit from the outside.
Yeah, it's just tough to give him those shots when you have a guy in front of him and Cam Johnson shooting 47% from 3 on over 5 attempts a game. There's a reason why, but at the same time, he's got to try.
He's on a really talented college team.
Yeah.
That's why. So when you're on a really talented college team, it's tough to get your opportunities, and guys can outplay you. I mean, you look back, and was Joel Berry the best guard in UNC for the past, 10 years? No, he has phenomenal numbers because he's a great college player. But he's not a great NBA player. And not being a great college player doesn't mean you can't be a great NBA player. And being a great NBA player didn't mean you were a great college player. I think there's a lot of ways that Nasir Little can develop into an NBA starter. And I think he's a guy that you can look at, top 5 and be like, very proud of taking him, because I think he has that body. I think he has that potential. And the NBA draft always goes back to potential.
Yep.
And when he's working out at the combine, when he's, getting opportunities in minutes, he might shine back up to that top 5
Here's
level.
the thing I look at, and one of the comments that Dave and I got on our Nasir Little video, this is from the most greatest productions. He says in there, if you watch UNC games, it's coaching that's holding him back. That might be true. It might kind of be like a Sekou situation of okay, he doesn't know where he's going to, where he has to be on the floor. I go back to a Bleacher Report article where they say, what are you doing? Williams asks, and Little just doesn't answer. And then he just goes, well, I don't know. He lifts his chin. He wishes that he knew the answer, but he just doesn't know where he should be. And my worry is that any team in the top 10 after the top 5, or even after the top 4, the Hawks, I'm not taking a flyer on Nasir Little because
why not?
One thing,
14 picks, you might as well.
One thing, I think that is a, hey, you know what? We do not, they are taking players that they think can help us win in the near future. I don't think he's a guy that fits in with what the old Golden State. Yeah, so the brass
win in the near future?
The brass that came
we know.
over
They're from the Warriors front
from
office.
the Warriors.
Yeah,
it
took Steph Curry 5 years before they made the playoffs.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
Steph Curry was not. I'm not relating him to Nasir Little. I wouldn't take him on the Hawks. If I'm the Wizards, I'm not going to take him there.
No, my point is it took them 5 years. From building that team, it took them 5 years to get to where they were.
But what I am saying is, if he doesn't know where he's supposed to be, and yes, you could say, well, the coaching could help him, and that may be true. I'm not there at UNC. I don't know the situation. But if I'm in the top 10, I don't want to stay in the top 10 to where I wonder if all of these organizations from 5 to 10 are going to go, too big of a risk for me, and pass on them. Because
so you think the best scenario for Nasir Little is to get the best coaching?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. He needs the right coach to work with him.
Gotten to the point.
I just the biggest concern I have with Nasir Little is what they say about most athletes in most sports is what's above the shoulders is more important than what's below it. And when I start hearing don't know where he's supposed to be, don't know this, it's either one of two things. It's either the coach isn't helping you understand, or you just don't have the basketball IQ to understand. And if it's that second one, I'm pushing you to the side and I'm not going to draft you.
Why wouldn't the Hawks then make a great project team for him?
Because I don't see the Hawks as in it for a project. They want to get to winning as soon as possible.
I think you're...
What
timeline?
Where do you get that idea from?
Because if I look at Nasir Little, right now I'm looking at him as a 2 to 3 year project.
That's Hawks, not Nasir Little.
For the Hawks. And I don't think...
No, where do you get the idea that the Hawks want to win now?
because they're building their team. They went out and made their draft picks. They built the Young, Herter, and the Spellman draft picks to hit the guys that they want.
Herter was a 20 and Spellman was a 30.
Well, I know.
That does not mean those guys are starters for the rest of their
think about it. When they posted those
team.
picks, a lot of people are saying, there's your Warriors core. There's what you are. And
those are half jokes,
I
Ricky.
get that's hype. But for me, at number 5, if you want to sit there and be a top 5 team for another 2 to 3 years, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, I'm going with a guy like Jarrett Culver, who is going to be able to hit from outside, who's going to be able to play the defense. And if you don't like what Kevin Huerter's doing right now, Jarrett Culver could be your Klay Thompson type of 3-and-D on your team.
Kevin Huerter's
way
been playing
better.
fine.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, like, yes, Culver and Huerter kind of can bat a little bit, but I would take that over Nasir Little, who right now I see as a project.
I think they're a team willing to take on projects. I think they're all about, we're at the top of the draft for the next couple of years.
Can I put some context to this?
Yeah.
If they wanted to win now, they'd be taking Luka Doncic and not trading him away. Well, they just got Trae Young and draft capital.
Maybe
they're building up draft capital to build up their team.
The Luka argument is completely different because if you're saying that, the Suns should have taken him at number 1.
They should have.
Like,
but I'm talking about the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not talking about the Phoenix Suns. I'm talking about the
it.
Atlanta Hawks. And what you're saying is that they want to win now.
And you know what? Nasir Little might be the same thing. Might be the same thing as Luka Doncic. There may be fears of, I don't want to waste my pick. And yes, he's a 2 to 3 year project. But if I don't have the faith that he's going to pan out in those 2 and 3 years, I'm not wasting a top 10 pick on him.
That's fine. I'm not. No, and I'm not saying you need to be picking Nasir Little.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that.
But
I'm trying to understand where you're coming from with the Atlanta Hawks about they want to win now.
Because
that's the only thing that I'm not understanding or drawing.
Let me rephrase it this way. You obviously, every single team wants to turn their team around. If you're a team that's sitting there, yeah, I'm fine picking number 1 overall every year, then fire your management. That's why Bulls management wants to get, we want Garpax gone because that's what it seems like. They're competent with, we can make a playoff run with veterans or we can sit in the top 5. What I should say is I see Nasir Little as a project, but when you say 2 to 3 years, it's not for sure that we know he's going to become what his ceiling is. And if you're not confident that he can develop in those 2 to 3 years, take someone else who you believe can do that.
And the final thing that I'll say too is with the Hawks, I don't get that idea from them because they just hired their general manager in 2017. Mm-hmm. They just hired Lionel Hollins to be Lionel Hollins, right, is their head coach this year. I think they are trying to build up that front office. They're trying to build up that coaching staff. They're trying to build up that team. Lloyd Pierce, thank you. Lionel Hollins. Who's Lionel Hollins?
He was with the Grizzlies.
Was he? All right. Sorry, Lloyd Pierce. He's the former assistant coach of the 76ers. Mm-hmm. I knew where he come from. I could picture his face. Just forgot his name. Lloyd Pierce. I'm sorry. But they're building up that coaching staff. They're building out that front office. They're building a culture, and they just need to build up a team. And my idea is it's not that scary to take on a project. And also, I don't see the massive difference between Culver and Little talent-wise. And yes, there's difference between production. But also, Nasir Little's 18. Jarrett Culver's older. I mean, one's a sophomore, one's a freshman. And real quick, also, 2 different players. Culver is more of a, 2-guard, and Nasir Little is a natural 3. And I think you see the buildings of a 3-and-D player, where Culver might be more of just a all-out wing and possibly a combo guard in some instances as well. And I think there is that higher ceiling for Nasir Little. And yes, you might call that a project, which is fine. But I just think that when you're in that spot of being 5th, top 5 pick for multiple years, you need to take shots at projects because those projects get you outside of that. And yes, hey, maybe you won't be, if you take Jarrett Culver, he'll be more of a plug and play and you win 5 more games. But that takes you from 5 to 7. I think Nasir Little takes that ability for you to get from 5 into the playoffs at his peak and at his performance. And I think that's where I'm trying to say, where does the talent drop off? Because I think of Zion as an NBA starter at his low. I think of RJ Barrett as an NBA starter at his low. I think John Morant is an NBA starter at his low. Cam Reddish, same thing. And I think the same for Nasir Little. I think Jarrett Culver's low could just be a bench player, and I think that's about it. I don't think his star potential, maybe it's a quality starter to a top 10 wing. I think Nasir Little can be a top 5 wing and possibly an all-star.
See, for me, and maybe I should have explained it like this, it's Nasir Little project, but at the end of that project, how confident are you that he is actually going to get there? And if I'm the Hawks, if I put 3 years into a prospect and you don't hit even close to what we thought it was going to be, then I don't want to be at number 5 looking back at this draft going, wow, we drafted a bust.
Obviously, we had a long discussion, so if you want to throw into anything onto that, go ahead. But you took Kevin Porter if you want to change the subject.
Just a final note on all that. Like, if you're so low on his chance to pan out, then fine. Just say that. Don't like that would have streamlined about the last 15 minutes of this episode. But with all that being said, Kevin Porter Jr. is pretty cool though, right, guys?
No, he is.
Like he's a true like combo guard who can facilitate, he can score. He has that it factor to him when you watched him play. We're all sort of assuming that thigh injury is going to be a season ender for him.
Are you worried about that?
No, because he's probably going to be fine. He just doesn't want to come back because there's no way his draft stock stays this high if he plays more. Like, if you look at his individual performances, nothing stellar. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't popped off for like 30 a game, on season. He's got average numbers, but when you watch him play, it's the basketball IQ, it's his handles, it's his motions running an offense that really intrigues you. You start to see that star potential out of him, and he's a guy where I'm so high on him that I'm concerned because I'm like, this seems like fool's gold to me. Like, I probably will have you dropping if other players can continue to play like a Jarrett Culver. Jarrett gives me that Jimmy Butler feeling. It's that tough grittiness to his play. He's not a consistent shooter. He's a streakier shooter. Obviously, he's better than Jimmy was at this point in time in his career, but like, just that style of play is what I'm aiming at with that one. And I think Kevin Porter Jr. just has a certain special it right now that hasn't washed off. If players like Nasir Little and Jarrett Culver continue to play up, there's absolutely every reason in the world for me to push them above him. But right now, I look at that Hawks team and I go, you want a stud. Trae Young right now, amazing floor general for you. But at the same time, when he's not out there, that team is truly lost. Obviously, Jeremy Lin is an excellent player, but he's not in your long-term plans. So let's go ahead and get you a great two-guard to work with him hand in hand. I think Herter, amazing shooter. It's just they've got to figure out how to use him right in that offense, giving him meaningful minutes while not exposing him too much right now because he's still growing. So I think that Kevin Porter Jr. is a guy who I would think like that to me seems like the Hawks could really succeed with that kind of a pick.
And the thing too with Kevin Porter's injury is was reported a 1 to 2 week injury, and obviously this thing could drag out. He could obviously make the idea of, hey, I want to play for myself, and obviously have a future to think about and step away. But also, how do you think that would affect if he does plan to step away? And the reports are that it's a 1 to 2 week injury. How do you think that would reflect on him as a basketball player when it comes to the NBA draft stock?
What I'm seeing, and I just want to interject here, is this is from Twitter on the 29th. According to Andy Ensfield on Kevin Porter, he's made improvements with his flexibility and his strength in his thigh, but he's not capable of practicing. On the 30th, he was out there in sweatpants at the halftime of their game and was shooting, but it didn't look like he's bending his right leg much. And that's a thigh he's bruised almost 6 weeks ago now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I read that wrong. According to the OC Register,
was it 1 to 2 months?
Yeah, it was determined he had suffered a quad contusion that was expected to sideline in 1 to 2 weeks. Instead, the severity worsened for reasons not fully known, setting back the timeline for recovery to 4 to 5 weeks. So it was, I think, suffered December 7th. Currently January 3rd, so obviously with that report, we're probably going to push it more towards
because he was supposed to return in late December.
But yeah.
All right. So let's say it goes on to February and they shut him down. Does that then affect his draft stock? With the news that you just received?
He stays pretty steady until we see workouts from him and until his medical gets cleared. Like, that goes pretty much up to the draft deadline. If you guys remember last year, we had the Michael Porter Jr. saga going on. Obviously, a much more serious injury, but at the same time, the medical information around him was very conspiracy theory-ish. Like, it didn't get released to all the teams, only to who he wanted to disseminate information to. I wonder if... I don't think this will go the same route. Obviously, be entertained if it did, though. But, like, I think that this is more like... we're going to see him probably get back to his normal self by February, and it's just like, if you come out now and play for a month, like, is there really any benefit for you or your team to do that? Like, I think the risk is higher than the reward at that point. I would probably just play it safe, do my own thing, like practice on the side, and just be cool going into the NBA draft.
One thing at least, will it help my team? USC is on a heater. They're on a 3-game win streak, and the Pac-12 looks like shit. So, hey, maybe the Pac-12 title's out there and he wants to push himself. What do you think, at least, about hurting his draft stock if he doesn't come back?
Me, I don't think it hurts it. It will not hurt it until we either see bad workouts or if at the combine the medicals come out and it's like, wow, this is bad. Well, that's the only way it really hurts, because it's different than an injury that we're...
thigh injury like go terribly wrong. That's the thing. There's no precedence.
Well, it's not even a thigh injury. Like, he didn't tear anything. He bruised it.
Yeah.
So my thing is, how bad can a bruise truly be? And then I start questioning, all right, like, if you had the ability to come back, this isn't like Bobo, had to get foot surgery.
And
this isn't like Michael Porter, who had to get back surgery, and Michael Porter still came back and played.
And that's why I was going to say it's different than an injury we're going to talk about later in ball.
Where's your mental toughness? And again, like, do you have that ability to playing for a team? I think GMs would look at that and be like,
I think he's going to have to answer those questions during interviews. 100%. I think you're on the right line of questioning.
So I think if he doesn't come back, then those questions will be brought up.
Yeah.
I think personally, I would like to see him, if he's able to play and he is healthy, go out and show what you have. Because again, you only gave us 2 months. That's not enough to say that you're a top 10 pick for sure. I was questioning putting him outside of my top 10. I obviously didn't. I gave him the Magic at 9. But I do question that if, like, you're not coming back and you are cleared to come back, then where are you?
Let me throw it this way. It's similar to what we're seeing in the NFL, where Nick Bosa basically said, bye, guys, I'm done. Like, I ain't coming back and getting rehearsed.
See, but I feel that's
different. Is it different because football's so physical?
And it's not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed. And also, the other thing, too, is, like, what was Bosa dealing with?
I thought it was, like, some leg injury that he had.
I'd
have to look up exactly
this is
what
different because, like, I don't know if he tore anything. I'm not an NFL draft expert at all. But this is a bruise. Like, come on. Like, you could play through a bruise. And I'm not saying play through a bruise now.
Oh, that's healthy. What? It was a core muscle injury. He tore a, like, pectoral muscle, I think.
That's a tear. I mean, like, he bruised something. Like, you can get over a bruise. Ice it. I just think,
unless
like...
Unless it's a misdiagnosis.
Unless it's a Kawhi thing. If you are healthy, though, I say play. I personally want you to play. So that's my thing. And that's, again, if you're healthy. If you're not healthy, then obviously don't play.
Yep.
So that's my line of thought. Also, did his dad play in the league? There's a Kevin Porter that did come up. And obviously he's Kevin Porter Jr. So I want to look into that and see if his dad played. Because apparently his dad, possible dad, is from Chicago. He went to DuSable. So anyways, let's move on now to the Wizards, right? Because we talked about the fall off. We talked about Nasir Little versus Jarrett Culver. At 6, I have the Wizards going with Romeo Langford. Ricky, you have Kevin Porter. And Dave, you have Nasir Little. Obviously, talked about Porter. We talked about Little. Romeo Langford is a guy that I know that I've been on and off, hot and cold. Ricky's saying I was calling him trash last time.
It wasn't trash. It's just we were talking about him, and I brought up, he had a good game against Louisville. Yes. And I brought up, he had a good game against Louisville, and you completely dismissed. Like, I don't care. I'm still low on him. It's not going to change my opinion. And now because he blows out a trash Illinois team, you're all on the Romeo Langford bandwagon.
Langford is, first off, I was on the Romeo Langford bandwagon. Check our early mock draft. It was garbage. I had him number 1.
Yeah, you did.
My thing with him was I worry about his shot consistency, right? And then he goes to the line against U of I and goes 11-14, which I really like.
It was a trash team, and that's coming from an Illinois.
The line doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't mean shit when you're going to the line. You could be playing the Spurs, and you could be playing the fighting the line. You could still go 11-14 is going 11-14.
Yep.
Also, I think his defense is coming around as well. And maybe that's just because Indiana's a very good defensive team, and Archie Miller's a good defensive coach. But I think that he does show the ability to become a pretty decent, 2 guard who can, possibly facilitate, possibly drive an attack. Getting stronger in the NBA would help, and also be a good defender. So I think that could be something that is intriguing me more, that maybe he's not going to be the Kobe Bryant scorer, but maybe he has that ability to be Kobe light in the fact that he can score, 15 a game, but he can also be a good defender. Like, obviously, Kobe was a great defender. Yeah. Kobe was a great player, a great scorer. But maybe he can be to that level of Kobe, just a little bit taken back.
Just stop saying Kobe out loud.
That's fine. Well, no, the biggest thing, the only reason I'm saying Kobe was because people were saying
they wanted him to be Kobe.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he has a really good mid range. Yeah, credit to him.
He's 6'6" too, so the build's there. So that's the only reason why I'm saying Kobe. Some people who are coming into this might think, oh, this is the kid that's being compared to Kobe. I'm just saying, like, he has some pieces that still show, like, that Kobe ability, just not to Mamba level.
Right.
Maybe he's, like, Garden Snake level. So I think that Romeo Langford's coming around a little bit on me, too. And also, with their ability of possibly getting rid of Bradley Beal this season or next season, you need a 2 at some point. I think Romeo would be making sense next to John Wall because John Wall is such a great passer. He can find him wide open shots, and I think Romeo can hit wide open jumpers. So I think that would help his offensive game as well, having someone who can create for him. He can create on his own right, but also having that ability of having a top 10 guard in John Wall creating open shots for you off ball could be huge for Romeo Langford.
And for me, it comes down to the Bradley Beal move. Because if I was for sure they were not going to move him, then I would have had Keldon Johnson going here. But because I'm like, you know what? In my mind, moving Bradley Beal by the trade deadline is the best move possible. Go with the 2. Go with Kevin Porter Jr., who to me has in my mind, a little bit higher ceiling than a Keldon Johnson. And that's why it's like, it's debatable, but like if they were going to keep Bradley Beal, then I might go with a Keldon Johnson here because...
Your assumption is Beal's gone, you're drafting for the future.
Yep, exactly. Right. And I mean, because John Wall's stuck.
Yeah.
Like he's here to stay.
I'm going there digging to the well. They're like, hey, we're bad. We're real bad right now. Let's take someone with potential. Like, I think that this is going to be eventually they're going to flip over the majority of the roster, but it's the Wizards, so they're bad, and they're not going to do it right. So at least they end up with the most potential available for their point in the draft.
I'm really going to bring this fucking podcast down. Just found an article because I was looking up the thing of Kevin Porter, who was from Chicago, was Kevin Porter Jr.'s dad. From the SeattleTimes.com, Kevin Porter Jr. lost his father when he was 4. So, yikes. Sorry, Kevin.
Not so great.
For bringing that up, yeah.
Honestly, though, if I had a choice, I'd rather lose my dad before I was like 5 than like later in life.
Not easy.
No, but like
I'd rather have a dad.
Not either way.
100%.
I don't want to be bringing this up because like last thing I want is like someone like somewhat sending this to Kevin Porter Jr. I just want to apologize for bringing up your dad because if that is a soft spot, that sucks that you lost it very early in your life or just in your life at all. I still have my dad around, so I'm lucky. We all do. So knock on wood, we're lucky. So my bad. Just want to correct that. Not just one's Kevin Porter, one's Kevin Porter Jr. Not related. So, but you have him going to the Wizards.
Yeah,
so
I do.
I just wanted to throw that out there. Nasir Little, though, what do you think?
Go ahead, Dave.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Didn't let you follow that one up too easily, huh?
Thanks. No, like I said, the Wizards are a flaming trash heap. Like they're a team with all the talent in the world and they're underperforming. Obviously, John Wall got injured, but like at this point in the year, it didn't even matter. Like they were already underperforming so poorly. Bradley Beal's got a ton of potential still. I'm still on his train. Otto Porter, maybe he'll bounce back to be an above-average player, but you paid him a stupid contract. Somebody's going to eat that contract because they think they can make him a better player, but he just doesn't have the right attitude to like take over a team, I feel. He doesn't want the ball in his hands often, and he's hesitant to take shots. I don't know if that's just been drilled in his head by playing with 2 alphas like Bradley Beal and John Wall, where he doesn't feel deserving to take a majority of shots, but he's an excellent shooter. By all standards, he was an excellent shooter. He's a great defender. So I look to see them go for Nasir Little, someone who tons of potential, longer-term project, but at the same time has the highest potential outcome of anyone left in the draft in my mind, outside of a Bol, but because of his injury, I can't put Bol that high.
Sorry, now I'm reading more about Kevin Porter Jr. Apparently, a guy who graduated from his high school, some guy named Jamal Crawford, became a father figure to him. So, kind of a happier ending. So that's pretty good. So he has found a father figure.
Yeah,
I didn't know what a father figure was until he found Jamal Crawford. I feel a little bit better now. Way to go, Jay Smooth. Jay Crossover, whatever his nickname is. Shout out to Jamal Crawford. So,
did you say Jay Smooth?
I forget what his name is.
I believe that's an actor, if I'm not... or a comedian, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. Just shout out to Jamal Crawford then. Anyways, I agree, though. Flaming pile of trash heap, and I think that potential is too much to pass up when you're at that position. And also, you get rid of Oubre, Otto Porter, like you mentioned. Like I think Nasir Little will be a good fit.
Somebody might pick him up, or he just learns to play better, and they roll with him at the 4. Deal with it.
I think Nasir Little would be a really good fit though, with the Wizards.
To the question, would he even get minutes? I'm just saying, they got a certain first-round pick on their team right now.
Also, Scott Brooks. And, same position,
Troy Brown Jr.
Yeah, same position,
Well, Troy Brown's more of a 2, but he's a he's a 2-3 ball handler.
Yeah.
So, different skill set, but yeah.
But then if they don't try Bradley Beal, they have Nasir Little, That motherfucker ain't getting minutes.
I hate the Wizards.
Anyways,
Move on.
let's go to 7. New Orleans Pelicans. I have him going Jarrett Culver. You have Keldon Johnson, Ricky, from Kentucky, and Dave has him going Jarrett Culver. I'll throw it to you, Ricky, for Keldon Johnson. We talked about Jarrett Culver a little bit already. So tell us about Keldon Johnson. Why is he up this high? Because he's kind of a riser.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's interesting because what I would really, 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 really want them to take is a point guard. But I sat here at 7, was like, is 7 too high for Darius Garland right now? And I was like, yes. In my mind, Darius Garland, maybe a little bit too high to be putting him at 7 at this point. If he comes back for the workouts and plays for the workouts, maybe can rise his stock into top 10 levels. But other than that, I just look at what else is available. And I'm still not completely sold on Romeo Langford yet. So I look at, you know what, the 2-3, Keldon Johnson, DeAndre Hunter. I'm going to go with Johnson over Hunter because, like, for Hunter, and maybe this is like a bad stereotype I put him in, I look at his defense more than his offense. And where Keldon Johnson has been popping off offensively a little bit as of late, I'm going to go more with that than the defensive-heavy Hunter.
Jamal Crawford's Twitter is J Crossover, so that's what I meant.
J Crossover.
All right, my bad. Dave, though, I mean, with the Keldon Johnson thing, him rising up, what Ricky's brought up, why is Culver still there? I know you're a big fan of Culver, and you also have Keldon Johnson rising up your boards. Why not go Keldon Johnson here? Why do you like Culver over Johnson?
I wanted to put Keldon Johnson there 100%. You know, because you were here when I made the freaking thing last minute as hell for this mock. It's just I couldn't decide.
So what ended up pushing it over? And did Ricky's possibly change your mind?
I want to have a 3 there. The problem is that obviously Jarrett Culver's a 2, but if he falls too far, none of the teams after this really fit perfectly in my mock, and maybe I overreached for fit in a lot of these scenarios. But I thought Jarrett Culver's talent demanded that he be taken at this point because I think that, you know, maybe I'm wrong with there's 4 and then there's everybody else. Maybe it's like 4 and then 2 and then 2 and then, you know.
Well, I mean, there could be different tiers.
It's smaller cliffs, I think.
Why do you think they need a 3 exactly?
The Pelicans. You've seen the Pelicans.
But they've also
know.
They've been rolling out Etuan, and Etuan's going to be on next year.
Needs to be a starter. He's been shied off the bench.
And they've played with the 3 before.
Right.
So possibly. And Culver is longer. So then you could possibly defensively put Culver on the 3s.
You could. I just think that talent-wise, he's so freaking good. Even if you have to move Drew to the 1 again, it's worth taking Culver there because right now you have just such a terrible defensive team when you don't have AD and Drew out there together. Excuse me. And I think that adding Jarrett Culver to that really helps them a lot because their wing defense is atrocious. And the fact that people can abuse Nico Mirotic and Randall in the low post and coming down from the outside to the low post, you need someone who can at least ensure that, like, look, you got Drew on their number 1 guard, and then you can move Jarrett Culver over to guard a wing or a guard, either or. Like, he's flexible. And I think that you end up with that secondary ball handler off of Drew, which is great because Drew doesn't want to be a primary ball handler anyway. That he's notoriously been better when there's a true point guard out there. And we even saw it. Even Alfred Payton out there helped him out as being a 2 guard.
And obviously Rondo, too.
Rondo was enormous, obviously. But, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, even the shitty version of Rondo and Alfred Payton, like, you still see Drew happier, playing better, and more engaged. He's fallen off from what he did last year, no doubt. But I still think that adding him and maybe shifting everybody over one spot, best case scenario, because Jarrett Culver is it just seems like a better prospect right now than Keldon Johnson.
How tempted were you then to put Darius Garland to the Pelicans?
So tempted. You have no idea. Because I watched all of his highlights. I literally went back, grabbed every game he played, and then I grabbed one of the, what's the AAU games. And I'm just like, I really like the way he moves with the ball in his hands. He is clean. He's so good. And he's got good enough size. And he's got good enough court vision. But he's a pure scorer out there, which is awesome. So I think that's the thing is, like, I'm close to rising on him again. Never going to play a game in college. I don't care.
And that's one thing, too, where we come back to the talent level. And that's, if someone had this injury last year, they'd definitely fall like 5 spots. And Garland hasn't fell much for us. And that's why I keep wondering, like, where is this talent cut off?
There's only one point guard in the
draft.
It's
Little.
It's Ja. And then after that, there's literally that I will say there is a cliff. Yeah. Like there's Ja and there's everybody else.
You've got
Darius Garland.
you got Trey Jones, who's good, but like we talked about Cam Reddish and what he's had to deal with, well, being the fourth behind the three Dukies and not being in there like.
But I don't think Trey Jones is a one on any team.
No, but like he's not the number one scoring option, but he's a good point guard and can help out a team. But like no one even thinks about him because it's like, oh, Duke. You got the three Dukies in front of him. It's just kind of a more extreme than what we mentioned with Cam.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I just don't see, like, I'm sorry, Trey Jones, I don't see the star potential. Your brother's in the league, and he's also backup trash. So,
I mean,
suck it, Minnesota.
He could be better than...
We've been in this room for like an hour and 20 minutes. I am on fire right now, so it's just coming out. Sorry.
I'm not blaming you. I think it's interesting, though, at least, because they do have flexibility. Because even then, you look at the four, and possibly do they even go Hachimura? Because if they're getting rid of Mirotic,
right?
But his contract's up at the end of the year. Then do they think that's a necessary position to attack?
I don't. I think that they try to go for a 5 and get AD out of that center position as soon as possible. Because if he's not happy, we all know what's gonna happen.
Let's move now into the 8th spot. T-Wolves. I have DeAndre Hunter. Ricky has DeAndre Hunter. Dave has DeAndre Hunter. Is this the most boring pick in the world?
Well, if Thibodeau is there and DeAndre Hunter is the best on the board, take him. It's defense.
Didn't we say with marketing draft they traded for Butler?
Yeah, I know, but I don't think they're going to trade for Butler. They have Rocco too, so. I mean, they do have Rocco, but Rocco can't play every minute of every game.
I'm saying he's hurt right now too, which sucks. But like Rocco can guard, 2, 3, 4. DeAndre Hunter can guard 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
And Hunter's an older player, so it's not
exactly.
Like
he's not a rookie. Even when he comes in the league,
wasn't Jimmy like 23, 24 when he came in the league?
Jimmy was old.
22. I mean,
but
right now he's
we
like
also
21.
were pretty stacked on that team. To be fair, at the time, he was not a better player at the time. So
I just think it's boring just because DeAndre Hunter is. No offense to DeAndre Hunter, I think his ceiling is an NBA starter. I think his floor is like a very good bench player. But I don't think there's that like Mikal Bridges like he can be a star at some point.
Do you think he's similar line to like he's just a better shooting coming into the league? Rocco.
Yeah, I think so. And I think
he's a prototype. He's what everybody wants is just a generic 3-and-D wing. He's somebody who could go along in what Trevor Reeves is doing this year, basically. I'm not saying prime Trevor Reeves because that's a different story, but like what Trevor's doing this year and like last year. Well, like that's sort of like where we expect him to be at.
And I think one thing too with Hunter is he is a leader. I think that's one big thing. I mean, you look at what happened to them when he got injured.
They lost to a 16 seed.
They lost to a 16 seed. That's the only time it's ever happened. And I think that's a big part of DeAndre Hunter not being out there because again he would have been able to guard Jarius Lyles and be able to slow them down, or whoever Mora was.
And not even just that. Like before that even happened, like I remember the injury happened, and before they lost to the UMBC, is Jay Billis came on the bracket show and was like, "Yeah, I would have them as my champion, but now that DeAndre Hunter is going to miss the entire tournament, they're like." Don't pick them to win it all. And that's how important he was to that team.
And that's the most credible college basketball analyst in Jay Bill is saying that. Like that's huge. And obviously we saw what the effect was in the actual tourney. So I think that could actually, his leadership could take over too. And if they do lose D Rose, not losing some leadership and having a guy that's not afraid to step up, at least on the floor, would help that team as well. Because you sure as hell know Wiggins is doing that, calling the fans shit. So like I think that, or half the fans shit. I think that would be huge, and also that would mean you could take off Wiggins at some point, at least on the floor if he's not getting it done defensively, because Hunter does provide that, and you wouldn't have a ton of scorers out there because then you're giving away Wiggins, but also is Wiggins even a scorer anymore? Let's move now to the 9th spot though. I have Kevin Porter, Ricky you have Hachimura, and then Dave you have Darius Garland. We haven't talked about Hachimura, so throw it out there, Ricky. Why Hachimura to the Magic?
I like what he's able to do. He could be, for me, like Brandon and I talked about it in the we kind of did almost the same thing that you guys did with Ball with the questioning of could he be the next Giannis? No, he's not the next Giannis, but I do think he's got similar skills of like, hey, could play the 4, but also can handle the ball for a team. And for a team like the Magic that need a ball handler, could just go at BPA here. He is the guy on my board that's like, yep, he's the next best player. That's who the Magic go with, and just keep going.
Just BPA.
Well, this is straight BPA, and he could be. He to me is one of those picks that is like we could look back on it and go like, man, he was a sleeper.
And that's fair. The only reason I bring it up, though, is just because you look at the build of that team, and you have Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, Aaron Gordon. That's a lot of players, especially for the position he's going to be playing.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe one of them, maybe like a Voos or a Aaron Gordon get moved.
But
who
if
knows?
Voos or Gordon gets moved, or like only one of them, there's still 3 players in Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac, and Gordon /
The Magic, unless you're drafting a point guard, like it's a logjam there. So I mean, they're gonna have to figure that out.
I think the Magic have to look 1 or 2. No disrespect, Ricky, but like I just think that Gordon's the only one who could be, and that's just purely contractual. Like they're just like, we want to get more minutes for younger guys. We know what we get out of you, and we're not going to pay you max shelf money.
And also we can get something big for you.
Absolutely, because Vucevic has no trade value apparently, even though he's the best center in the league right now. Take my word on it.
No, he's not.
Straight up. But I think you have to go 1 or 2. You have to go 1 or 2.
Real quick, just because you keep saying straight up, people don't know.
Sorry.
3 years ago, if they don't know, 3 years ago, we probably explained it enough. But 3 years ago, we made a thing about, who was it? Bismack Biyombo.
It's your boy Vegberg.
No, we're talking about Bismack, the OG version of it.
Vegberg did not say that.
I thought he was the...
No.
He's the one on Twitter that always...
He's the Magic fan, but he did not say straight up. It was we shit on the Magic for saying that they had 10 bad starters and that they signed another one in Bismack Biyombo. And obviously they traded him away because it was a horrible contract. But someone said, Vucevic is great. Draymond for Vucevic straight up. And we laughed our asses off because you're talking about defensive player of the year.
Great comment.
And now... I think it'd be an unfair trade the way that Draymond's been playing for Vucevic. And maybe, it's a little bit of an overreaction, but yeah, I mean, maybe they're making us eat our words finally after 3 years.
They knew something we didn't. I still would like the fit better, but whatever. I just think that Magic, you have to go 1 or 2. Like they got their lineup is the big lineup. They got Bamba, Isaac, and Gordon together. That's their future. I think outside of that, nothing else has been locked in. They like a couple of the other guys out there. Obviously, you're getting a ton of points out of Fournier. But I just think that's empty points on a bad team. I'll be honest. Like, it's bad, but like I think they have to go point guard or they have to go 2 guard here. And Darius Garland has so much potential as a great scorer and a okay facilitator. Like, that's the guy I want. 100% Magic. You should have taken a point guard last year. You didn't.
And if they don't this year, what do you think they're passing it up for?
They're praying. Oh, if they pass up in the draft, that means they've already got a wink, wink, nudge, nudge in free agency, I'm hoping. Because if they fuck that up again, Jesus. If they did not go Garland here on my board, I would probably look for a Keldon Johnson, who would be happy to play a 2 guard for them. Still has good size, decent length.
6'6".
Not quite, the 7 foot reach though. So maybe you go, I don't know, who's the 2 guard with the longest reach? Like
maybe Romeo. That's why I kept saying KZ.
Yeah, Romeo's on my board. KZ, I think he's going to be more of a 3, and I think you already have something special with Isaac.
Well, no, but the joke I made was that he was a guard, then grew 10 inches, so that's a perfect Magic.
You're right. Right.
That's the only reason why I would say that. And, but no, I agree that...
On my board, Romeo would actually be a really good fit. That's a good call.
Romeo's wingspan is 6'11". He's 6'6", but a 6'11" wingspan.
So if you're not going Darius Garland, you're looking at Keldon or more likely a Romeo Langford.
And that's the one thing that I think Romeo does have over Keldon is the ability to move the ball. Because Keldon has not done that in Kentucky. And that's not...
Keldon plays better defense, though.
Yes.
Individual defense. I know Romeo, like you said, Romeo plays in a good system. I'd like to see him on his own when he bulks up to an NBA size.
100%.
But right now...
But with the Magic, team defense is huge because you have Gordon, you have Isaac, you have Bamba.
If they touch hands, they cross America.
Exactly.
Hands cross America with like 3 guys.
That helps Romeo Langford. Again, putting him back into a system.
Yeah.
I think that might be the player I would go with if I'm coming down to Keldon Johnson or Romeo. But I think Garland, again, when it comes to draft time, that could be a sensible pick. I go Kevin Porter, obviously. Not a huge knock on him. I do worry a little bit about the injury. He can rise up. He can fall back down. He could stay where he is. But I think that I needed to put him down a little bit because I'm not fully sold on it because I haven't seen enough out of him. But even then, at that point, the Magic, if he is going to be a combo guard, it's too much to pass up on it. Finally, last pick, Nets. I have Hachimura. Ricky, you have Romeo Langford. Dave, you have Hachimura. Why do the Nets make this pick, Ricky, for Romeo Langford?
For me, and this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where you're talking about this drop-off, this is where it happens, where the Nets are in a position where if I'm going Dave and I'm going more fit-wise, Nasir Little's the guy I pick because they literally, after this year, unless they re-sign one of them, don't have a power forward on the roster. And the Nets are a team that could take on a project like a Nasir Little. But I sit there and I look and I go, you know what? Romeo's there. I don't know if I could pass on Romeo with him being available, although I already have a ton of two guards. And when Karras comes back, he is my two guard. I mean, with me, it's another BPA, and we'll just figure out how to make it work. But maybe Nasir Little would be more of a fit than Romeo Langford.
Well, I'll bring this up because in 1.0, you probably had this guy as a BPA, Bol. Why not Bol here?
Injury.
Because,
it's all about the injury right now. That's why he's out of my top 10.
but do you think he's the best player available still?
No, because of the injury.
So
The
you
injury
think
to
top end
me,
potential, you're like
it's
what
He
he could
falls
be?
that much?
let's see. Right now, that's
Okay.
where I'm at. It obviously could change, but Ball's out of my top 10 with this injury.
We're all same thinking on where he's going to go. Not going to spoil it, but I just wonder, like, at least when it comes to BPA, I think personally, although the injury does happen, I still think he's probably the best player available.
If the injury
That's in my mind.
if the injury did not happen, he would have been in my top 10 somewhere.
All right.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And he was top 5, I think, a lock for
Yeah.
for us. Dave, though, you have Hachimura. Why do you think he's a fit for the Nets? And then also with the Bol thing, why not Bol here?
Sure.
Or
So
why Hachimura over Bol?
Sure. So Hachimura is an already established player in college. He's gotten better every single year. He's been there. His shot's gotten better. He's gotten more comfortable bringing that shot further outside, which is absolutely wonderful. I think the Nets right now are a team that's getting a little taste of success. And that's even with them struggling through injuries year after year, which is incredibly frustrating. After last year watching Jeremy Lin go down opening night, me almost crying over it. And then this year, having your boy, Karis LeVert, absolutely...
Who should be coming back this season.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like that's the saving grace. Is like, okay, well, he was injured in the past. He got hurt again. Freak accident, though. I'm not thinking this is going to be a injury-prone player yet. I'm not penning him down. But I think they're a team that, in the East, if they added someone like a Rui Hachimura, he's someone who can contribute day one to this team. He brings, like Ricky said, he has a handle for the ball. He can facilitate a little bit, and he brings you that scoring punch that they need down low for the most part because they rely heavily on Jarrett Allen, and then they are rolling out those laps where they're going like, let's play 2 shooting guards and roll down to 4, or let's try to mix things up. And like they're desperate to have a 4 on that team, in my mind, from watching this year, and it's just. If they add someone who is a ready-made player, he's already what 22? I don't want to get that wrong, but I feel
Hachimura?
like, yeah.
Let me check.
Thank you. And I just feel like him on that team fits their timeline. They're a team who
20.
He's only 20. Wow, I am totally wrong. So at 20, whatever, he's doing awesome, and I think that he fits the timeline a whole lot better because he's got so much more experience than any other kid at this point in the draft.
Going to be 21 February 8th.
Oh, okay,
And
there
the
we
thing
go.
I'm going to throw out there, too, is you mentioned, like, the scoring down low.
Yep.
He has the ability for me to develop an outside game because he's before was like, I didn't shoot that good. Like, 28% is the highest I've shot from 3. This year is shooting 1 more attempt per game. Yeah, it's only like 1.3 per game being attempted, which isn't a lot, but he's shooting 45%. So maybe...
Right.
Hey, we work on
Just
that.
adding the
we
shot
work
to the
that
game
volume. Yeah.
changes the way people defend him.
And the thing, too, with Hachimura is he's very comfortable mid-range. So, again, I talked about this with, I think, in Nasir Little.
Yeah.
Again, if you're comfortable in the mid-range, it's all about practice. Start stepping up because you have that form. You need to build up that ability to, get your legs underneath it and consistently, to have that power, to have that ability to drive through it. And it's not too much power to add onto your shot. It's more of a thing like, it looks farther away, so you just need to get really that range down because, again, like
don't overdevelop your shoulders and fuck it up like Mark Fultz did when he tried to muscle up threes.
Exactly.
But no, I love the young Nuts core, and I think that he is like a perfect fit to their timeline.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly what they need, and I think he's the best healthy available player too.
Yeah,
I think that's something
he's
too. 'Cause
proven. That's the difference between him and like a lot of the guys after him. Is you go, here's a proven college player, and then let's go back to potential.
And my thing too is like I brought up the Bol thing just because I kept saying when we were talking about it, he what is he going to do? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? He's thin as a rail, and obviously his father was not a guy who bulked up. Will he be able to add that bulk and be able to play in the NBA? And obviously, 2 months into college, he's getting injured. And yes, it wasn't like, he hurt his foot, so it wasn't anything super horrible.
Nobody snapped his leg in half, even though it looks like they could be done easily.
Exactly. I just worry, though, again, how will he be able to hold up in the NBA for 82 games? This was 12 games that he ended up getting hurt for. So my worst fears already happened. That's why I cannot trust him in the top 10.
Yeah, I would have loved the fit, though, because I think at the 4, he is a perfect fit for them. Like, he comes
especially
in,
next to Jarrett Allen.
Big scorer, and you got Aaron. Yeah, you have Jarrett Allen covering, being the big body down low. That way that he can just help out with that defense, just reach over like 3 guys, and just, alter shots.
Monstar it.
Yep, absolutely.